Stagnant rivers and ponds used by animals are often the only available sources of water for many Maasai villages. Women and young girls carry water for miles, knowing that this water is very likely to make their families sick.
It's very just riddled with sickness and disease. You know, the animals are just right there. And so it's a water source, but it's terrible.
To help meet this desperate need, Kenya Hope drilled wells in 3 Maasai villages this past year.
These were 3 brand new wells, and our wells, all our wells, up to this last year, our deepest well was 600 feet, but the 3 wells we dug this year, each of them got to 600 feet, and they called me and said, Dave, we're at 600 feet, there's no water. And that's very heartbreaking. You know, that's a lot of money invested. It's a big hole. And then so they finally hit water at 720, 780, and now our deepest one is 820 feet.
We were drilling at the new location where the private school is going to be, and it's called Olashaiki. And as they were working on the borehole, I went walking down into the community. I came across one of those ponds where the animals drink, and I came across this little girl and her mom filling up their water containers. And so I watched them and then followed them as they were walking home. But it was a real joy the next week when I saw this same little girl, and now she's collecting fresh water. She's no longer having to collect that dirty water from the pond, the same water shared by all the animals and livestock, and is so dirty. So it's just a joy when we can bring something that's so life-transforming to these communities and individuals. It's just amazing.
2 volunteers from West Michigan, Tim Friend and Willie Main,
Push down on that gate.
traveled to Africa this year to help Kenya Hope bring clean water to more Maasai villages.
That's one of our greatest privileges, is to partner, to bring people from here, bring them over there, and to see them. You know, Tim hadn't done welding for a couple decades, but we gave him the helmet and just kept feeding him steel.
Yeah, we'd hit the ground, we'd unload the truck, fire up the generator, and Tim would start welding. And I'd start laying stuff out or whatever we were doing for the day. There were always a group of guys, Maasai men, that were there. And then more would show up and more would show up, and they'd put them to work digging trenches, digging holes for trees.
You don't realize the needs out there. And by going out and serving in a project like that, you become aware of the needs, the desperate needs of most of the other population of the world. I was blessed to be able to use talents that God had given me.
So working alongside Dave and Joy when we were in Kenya was just a joy.
Tim and Willie did great. They just fit right in, and Dave, Tim, and Willie were just an awesome team, working really well together, and they both were just so willing to do whatever needed to be done.
I was able to observe Dave and Joy working with the pastors, you know, the women, the workers out there, and just interacting with them and just seeing their love for the people. You know, it's how you act, how you behave, which telegraphs a lot about who you are and who you serve. And I think, you know, Dave and Joy, they just ooze Jesus.
There's a lot of ministries that meet physical needs, but Dave and Joy's real heart is to share the gospel. The need in Africa is amazing. The water source that the locals have, we wouldn't call it a water source. It's just a mud hole.
Water is life for these people, and it's something we take for granted, but it's something that we realize that this is something that we can fix. This is something that's doable.
Kenya Hope has now drilled among these Maasai villages a total of 10 wells.
Each well services hundreds, if not thousands, of people that come walking in to fill their water jugs.
On some of the wells, we actually put a meter, and so that's always interesting to see, okay, we've been gone for 10 months now. So I read this thing, and it says 4,000. That calculates out to 4 million liters. It's staggering. I mean, it's a lot of water that we moved just in 10 months. As soon as the water starts pumping, the ladies are there, the jerry cans are lined up, The trough is there for the animals. The goats start queuing up and moving in, and the water is used instantly. And it is a very fresh water, and it's just a blessing. For them, they see it as a miracle.
I don't think we will ever run out of a place to put clean water in, because there's just so many remote communities that have no access to clean water. And Bibles, if God would just keep blessing us with the funds for Bibles, just continue to just flood the country with audio Bibles and the good news of Jesus Christ.
And it is a living, speaking, breathing testimony of the love of Jesus. And we see people coming to the Lord. They know that this has been a huge expression of love.
You know, if I was to tell my friend or, you know, family member or whatever, you know, why would I invest in Kenya Hope? It's because, you know, you're blessing people who need it desperately. And by blessing them, you will also be blessed yourself.
The need keeps us coming back too, because it's not done. The work is not done. There are so many people that need to know about Jesus Christ. There are so many people that need water. There are so many widows that need to be empowered and lifted up. So those are things that keep bringing us back. We're excited for what the future holds for Kenya Hope and for the communities in Kenya.